If the impasse of 1820 had somehow been resolved in 1824, if the publications of the church had remained open for discussion of the issues, if the reformers had been more moderate, what might have happened? Could the Methodist-Protestant schism have been avoided? Could the reformers' proposals have been negotiated into the structure then, rather than in part and piecemeal over later decades? It was not to be. Personal antagonisms, vested interests, and the muffling of debate opened the channel toward schism. Keep going. The direction became clear at the General Conference of 1824, which, by a desperately narrow margin, 63 to 61, declared the reform resolutions of 1820 unconstitutional and null. The election to episcopacy all over again of Joshua Sewell was not equally balanced by the election of moderate Elijah Heading. The old bishops signed an address which specifically rejected the argument for democratic reforms in the church based on political precedents in government. Obviously, although Andrew Jackson cast long shadows over Wesley's children, not all were impressed. Methodism was well into the process of being Americanized, but not without protest. Assisted by Bishop Sewell, able successor to the mantle of Asbury and McKendree, the Wesleyan standards of authority stood up remarkably well against the buffetings of populism. More? I can keep going. This is fascinating reading. Keep going. The voice of the people was strongly expressed, however, in the new periodical which appeared in 1824, Mutual Rights. Nicholas Snethen, who liked his own name best, that's good. Good line. Nicholas Snethen shared space with Nehemiah, Alexander McCain, and Bartimaeus, Asa Shin. This new venture grew out of a meeting in Baltimore during the General Conference, which gave rise to the first of a series of Union societies. For the next 4 years, both the magazine and the Union societies spread and flourished. The reform movement was still within the church, but it was outside the control of the established authority. It now had an effective means of communication and an autonomous organization. Union societies joined together in a web of common interest, unifying the drive for which was being thwarted in the official channels. All three received attention, sharing of authority with traveling preachers, rights for local preachers, lay representation. Everyone got into the act, not always marching in the same direction. Sounds pretty much like church choir. That's just a parenthetical remark for the benefit of the producer. Halfway through the quadrennium, Asa Shin, acute observer that he was, concluded reluctantly that the net result would be division. Step by step, the apparently inevitable ensued. In November 1826, a first convention brought the local Union societies together. In April 1827, the Baltimore Annual Conference censured one of its members, Dennis B. Dorsey. In May, Alexander McCain dropped his bombshell, History and Mystery of Methodist Episcopacy. Fall, Samuel K. Jennings and other local preachers were suspended. In November, the first official General Convention of Reformers met in Baltimore, which prepared a memorial to the coming General Conference. On the last day of the year, a group of women placed themselves squarely in support of the reforming men. In January 1828, the local preachers noted above were expelled. In April, the Baltimore Annual Conference not only deprived Dennis Dorsey and another minister, William C. Poole, of their conference membership, but also expelled them from the church. Hence, by the time the General Conference assembled in May, the rush of events had almost predetermined the subsequent course. By this time, the issues had been thoroughly opened and probed in a remarkable series of publications which altogether constitute a library of Methodist political debate, the end of which is not yet. This book was written, I think, in 1972, and the author is clearly pointing to the present day. Among the leaders was formidable Alexander McCain, the Agamemnon of the Reformers, as Drinkhouse characterized him. Tall and strongly built, with an impressive rough-hewn head, he demonstrated in his physique the combativeness which dominated his activities in the 1820s. His History and Mystery of Methodist Episcopacy marks the beginning of an important interchange of views on the essence of the Methodist structure of authority. McCain maintained that the office of bishop, properly understood, is a third order of ministry, that Wesley did not intend to establish such an office or order in ordaining Coke. Good enough?